Welcome to 8 Stories, the entertaining, uplifting, and informative podcast for people who are passionate about enriching the multifamily experience. I'm your host, Sharon Cauthen, and together, let's take an enlightening journey across the multifamily landscape, sharing innovative ideas and heartfelt stories from communities nationwide. 8 Stories is brought to you by Multifamily Media Network, delivering the latest news, ideas, and inspiration across the multifamily sector. Now, let's jump into today's stories. Hello, and welcome back to 8 Stories, the podcast where we explore powerful ideas, real-life experiences, and take away some meaningful thoughts from extraordinary stories in business and in elsewhere in the world. I'm your host, Sharon Cauthen, and today we're diving into a concept that has transformed countless workplaces, fostered better team dynamics, and more importantly, it created joy in what can be only described as one of the most unlikeliest of places. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Please consider hitting the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe so we can share future stories together. So our story today is set in Seattle, Washington, such a beautiful part of Pacific Northwest. And when tourists visit Seattle, they often have several must-see places on their list. Things like the gorgeous Mount Rainier, which is so grand and spectacular. When you fly into Seattle, Mount Rainier's peak is above the cloud line, so it's sort of your welcome into the city. Other people want to make sure they see the Puget Sound area. The Space Needle is a big tourist attraction. The first Starbucks ever, or any of the other 100 or so Starbucks in the city. And one of the other places is the Pike Place Market. You know, any movie or television show set in Seattle is always sure to include some B-roll of the Pike Place Market because it is such an anchor for saying, yes, this is indeed filmed in Seattle. So let's jump into today's story. Have you ever heard of the fish philosophy? And if not, get ready for something that could maybe shift how you see your job and even your personal life. And if you are familiar with it, I'd encourage you to maybe sit with this episode with some fresh eyes. And the philosophy's been around for a while, and maybe it will inspire you all over again. The fish philosophy originated from the energy and culture of Seattle's Pike Place Fish Market. Imagine being surrounded by raw fish, heavy workloads, and a fast-paced environment that can easily feel overwhelming. But instead of feeling burdened, the employees at the Pike Place Fish Market are famous, world famous, for being joyful, playful, and engaging, so much so that people come just to watch them work. How did they do it? That's what we're going to uncover today. So the fish philosophy has 4 simple core principles. They're powerful, but these practices are simple, and can also enhance any environment. Work, home, or as I said, even in your personal development. So let's dive in and think about what makes it so transformative. The first core principle of the fish philosophy is be there. And be there is simply about being fully present. I'm sure we've all been in situations where maybe a coworker is so distracted by their telephone, they're paying no attention to the meeting or to what you're trying to say at all, or you are speaking with a friend only to find that they are completely in another world, or maybe it's a colleague who's distracted by anything. What is different about the fish philosophy is this idea of you become fully present with whoever is in front of you, fully engaged. And when you do that, people receive that, and it really is a transformative experience. I know someone who does this very well. And when you watch this in action, it has a profound effect of building trust and strong relationships. The manager I know who does this very well, every time an employee comes to him, he immediately stops what he's doing, puts it down, whatever he's working on, puts it down, pen down, turn in his chair, directly face to face with his team member. He's fully present. I'm here to listen to what you need, and I'm here to help you get through whatever it is, or to celebrate something that needs to be celebrated. But whatever it is, I'm here with you. I see you, and I want to hear what you have to say. It's remarkable, and it's practiced so rarely these days that when it happens to you, you feel it. I don't know if you've ever put in a customer service request of any kind, only to feel like the other person is bored to death, doesn't want to be there, and has no interest in really helping you. So when you run into someone that goes above and beyond to really be present with you, that is something that's worth talking about. And they do it very well at the Pike Place Market. It's an excellent way to make someone feel valued by you. So it's important, I think, for us to think about with that concept, the small gesture of being there that nets big results. How can we challenge ourselves? What can we do today to practice being there in our work and in our home and in our relationships today? What can we do differently than what we ordinarily do? It may be as simple as laying your phone face down and being present, laying it face down on a soft surface and being fully present so you don't hear the not as loudly anyway. Just think about it. I'm not here today to tell you your list of if you do these exact things at 8:05 every day, your life will be better. I want to challenge you more to think about these principles and how you can apply each one of them to your unique life and your unique situation. So the second principle of the fish philosophy is about play. And some people think play at work. And I can tell you how many people I've talked to about this, and depending on what they do for work, there's a lot of pushback on the idea of play. Like, oh, I work in a factory. Play would get the big bosses would be on me a second if we played. And play is not necessarily about being silly or irresponsible. It is about infusing the workplace with that sort of joyful experience. And if you do have a customer-facing job, infusing the customer-facing part of it too. One of the things that they do at the fish market that you probably have heard before, but if I go up to the counter and I say, hey, I'd like two salmon to be shipped to my home in Atlanta, then the fishmonger taking my order would say, 2 salmon flying to Atlanta. And the next thing you know, the man with the salmon is throwing a giant salmon across the room and the fishmonger is catching it in paper. And I've seen them do it again and again and again, and it is remarkable. It is not easy to catch a fish. I've watched a lot of people where they'll let occasionally a customer come back and give it a try. It's not easy to catch a fish. Those things are slippery, but these guys catch it every single time. And that's one of the ways they really incorporate play into their workday and into their customer experience. I was there and I wasn't planning to buy a fish that day, but there was a monkfish nestled into the ice. And I don't know if you've seen a monkfish, but they're not cute. In fact, they're a little bit terrifying. They've got a very mean face and a whole lot of rows of mean teeth. And so I was peering down, into the ice in the case at this mean face. And the next thing I know, the face is coming at me. They had a yardstick in the back of the monkfish so that when they saw a customer who was particularly engaged, they could up the ante a little bit by play in a playful way, having the monkfish coming to get me. It didn't make me have nightmares or anything, but it just meant they also saw me in that way, right? They saw that I was there, intuitively felt like that would be funny. I wasn't likely to have a heart attack. And I'm still talking to you about it today. And I think it's probably been at least 15 years since it happened, maybe more. So I just want you to consider this idea of play and how you can incorporate that into your workplace, because when it becomes a healthy part of your work life, then it opens up, it sort of turns on different switches in your brains. And therefore you learn as a team how to collaborate better and how to solve problems differently. Consider it. Let your team have some feedback. But when you open the door to fun, at first people can be resistant because they think they're either going to get in trouble or you don't really mean it. Or, the next thing you know, I'm going to be getting my hand slapped for playing at work. So I think that it's important as leaders to set the tone for play and for how that can be incorporated. But you don't by any means need to come in, okay, this week we have a list of 10 things that we're going to do to play. And if you do not accomplish all 10 playful things, you'll be written up. Start playing now. I'm being facetious, but I think that you know what I mean. Play is something that needs to be a shared experience. So the third thing that is on the list of the philosophies is make their day. I love Make Their Day. Make Their Day is really special. This principle is all about doing something special or thoughtful that or kind that lifts others up, whether it's a colleague, a customer, or even someone in your personal life. These small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect. I heard the story of a school janitor, and every day he would leave little notes for students, either on their desk or in their lockers, especially if it was a struggling student. He could see they were having a hard time. Just a little sweet note to say, hey, I think you're doing great. Just little notes of encouragement. And that small act of kindness really paid back in big dividends. I think that there are ways that we can make our consumers' day, right? Our business customers, even our frontline residents in the multifamily business. I don't want to, again, give you a list of do these exact things and you will have made their day. I think it can certainly be done whenever someone's frustrated about something that's taken too long to get resolved. It should be fairly easy for us to figure out how to make their day with that. And that doesn't mean just get their work order done. It means acknowledge that it sounds like that's been really frustrating. And I'm really sorry about that. I'm going to take this on as my issue today. It's going to be right here with me, and I'm going to make sure this gets taken care of. And if it's not, I'll make sure I reach back out to you by this time today. That to me that's the standard for customer service. But what can you do that's above and beyond that really makes their day? And when it comes to team members or other people that you work with, how can you make this principle a part of your regular practice? So throwing fish and playing around and being fully present and making people's day are the first three tenets of this. The final principle is something called choose your attitude. This is not a new principle. We've all heard about choose your attitude before. I love this one because it's a reminder that no matter what happens around you, you always have control over your attitude. We've talked about this before on this show in the space between, the Viktor Frankl, who says that in the space between stimulus and response, there's space. And in that space, that's where we get to choose what we can do. That's where our power sits. And it's in many other ways that we talk about this very concept. I remember, though, when I was taking a formal class about the fish philosophy, that one of the mongers said that their job started at like 3:30 or something in the morning. And he'd stayed out too late the night before, so he knew, though, that it was up to him to choose his attitude, to decide, how am I going to start the day and what kind of day am I going to have? Am I going to feel miserable all day, or am I going to show up with a great attitude and make this day something special? I know that I'd far rather work with somebody who is choosing a great attitude every day. And we do always have control over that. Even though I think sometimes it's easy to want to unload, and not that we never need to unload, but it can become habit forming, this sharing every time we stump our toe on something. And it's important, I think, to choose and then re-choose again your attitude and choose to find joy in the day. Because when you do, it influences the energy and the joy of other people around you. A woman I worked with once told me that every morning when she was brushing her teeth, one of the things that she'd go through in her mind is she would ask herself, what kind of day do I want to have? And there is where she made her choice. She chose in that moment, I want to have a great day today. I want to have a joyful day today. And so she set aside whatever the things were that were frustrating her and chose to make it a great day that day. And I think that that's possible for all of us. And the more you practice it, the more it becomes second nature. So 4 simple philosophies, right? Be there, play, make their day, and choose your attitude. When in conjunction, they make for a really pretty powerful package. So if you'd like to learn a little more about this, there was a book written, Fish is the name of it, and I think Fish has got several other words behind it. You'll find it on Amazon or any place else. It was published in 1998, and then they published a revised edition in March of 2020. So it's out there. You can even buy a set of 25 books at a time if you want to go through them in a work group and all share the principles that you're learning together. But it is a philosophy that it's held up over time. Some things don't hold up over time, but this one certainly has. And I think it's worth investigating and spending a little time with it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to reading your comments on this, and I'll see you in the new episode of 8 Stories very soon. Thank you, and go make their day.
Thank you for tuning in to 8 Stories. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. And don't forget, this podcast is proudly brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network, your trusted source for stories, trends, and insights in multifamily living.